Hello and welcome to our podcast, where we discuss the latest news and interesting cases related to cryptocurrencies and blockchain. I'm Jane, and I'm here with my co-host Nike.
Hey everyone, great to be here with you all today.
Nike, have you heard about the bet between Balaji Srinivasan and Coinbase CEO James Medlock?
Yes, I have. It's all over Twitter and the crypto community seems to be going crazy over it. So, Medlock tweeted that he's willing to bet $1 million on the fact that the US dollar will not face hyperinflation.
And Srinivasan replied saying that he would take this bet and place $1 million on Bitcoin, as he's certain that within 90 days, the value of BTC will increase to an astonishing $1 million. And if this doesn't happen, Srinivasan will pay Medlock $1 million. Now he's upped the bid to $2 million.
Yes, that's right. This bet has caused quite a stir in the crypto community, with many prominent influencers and traders expressing skepticism about such a move.
Indeed, risk analyst Nassim Taleb and Doge co-founder Billy Marcus have already voiced their opinion on this bet, and they don't seem too convinced.
And let's not forget about veteran trader Peter Brandt, who has also joined the Skeptics Club, calling Srinivasan's prediction of a $1 million Bitcoin price within 90 days stupid.
It's interesting to see such different opinions on this matter. On one hand, we have Srinivasan, who's willing to bet a large amount of money on Bitcoin, and on the other hand, we have seasoned traders who think that it's not a wise move.
That's right, Chain. It just shows how unpredictable the cryptocurrency market can be. Even the most experienced traders can get it wrong sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think this bet is also indicative of the current state of the global economy. With inflation rates rising and the US dollar losing value, people are looking for alternative investments, and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are becoming more attractive.
Yes, that's definitely a factor. But at the same time, we should also remember that Bitcoin is still a highly volatile asset, and its value can fluctuate wildly.
True. And as we've seen in the past, even small events can have a significant impact on the price of Bitcoin. So, while it's exciting to see such bold predictions and bets being made, we should always be cautious and remember that the crypto market is still very young and unpredictable. So, Nike, what do you think about Balaji's tweet regarding his bet on Bitcoin reaching $1 million in 90 days?
Well, Jane, Balaji is certainly an influential figure in the crypto community, and his opinion carries weight. However, I think it's important to consider the risks involved in making such a bet. Investing in cryptocurrency is already a volatile business, and to bet such a large amount of money on a single outcome seems risky.
I agree, Nike. It's important to remember that Bitcoin's value is influenced by many factors, including market sentiment, regulatory changes, and the overall global economy. Balaji's bet seems like a risky gamble.
And not just that, Chain. Balaji suggests that we're on the cusp of hyper-Bitcoinization, where Bitcoin replaces fiat currency as the global standard. While that's certainly an exciting idea, we can't ignore the fact that it's a drastic change. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, and there are likely to be many challenges and obstacles along the way.
That's a good point, Nike. It's important to approach such big changes with a critical eye and to consider all the potential outcomes. Balaji argues that the digital devaluation of the dollar is coming and that it will be intense. Do you think there's any merit to that argument?
Well, Chain, it's certainly true that the value of the US dollar has been decreasing over time, and that's something that many people are concerned about. However, I think it's important to consider the broader context. The US dollar is still the global reserve currency, and it's not likely to be replaced anytime soon.
Yes, that's true. And even if the dollar does continue to lose value, it doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin is going to become the new global standard. It's still a relatively new technology, and there are many challenges that need to be overcome before it can be widely adopted.
Yeah, it's quite a bold move by both parties involved. But it seems like many people are expressing skepticism about it.
Right. I've seen some comments from analysts saying that this bet is insane and that the chances of Bitcoin reaching $1 million in 90 days are close to zero.
That's true. Alex Kruger, a popular market analyst, wrote on Twitter that a large percentage of the population is not intelligent enough to see this and that they are likely to gamble or invest, thinking that Bitcoin may be going to $1 million soon.
It's interesting how some people blindly follow authority figures like Balaji, even if the prediction seems unlikely to come true.
That's a cognitive bias called appeal to authority. People tend to believe what an authority figure says just because they are an authority figure.
Absolutely. Well, I think that in such matters it is necessary to keep up with the times. And so we asked GPT-4 what he thinks about this and whether he would accept such a bet. Should we listen to AI's opinion?
It will be at least interesting. Will you start?
GPT-4 has given us a lot to consider. It's true that investing in cryptocurrencies is risky, and it's important to do your research before making any decisions.
Balaji Srinivasan's prediction is bold, and there are several factors to consider. For example, Bitcoin's historical performance has been impressive, but it has also experienced significant drops in value. It's important to evaluate whether the current market conditions make it likely for Bitcoin to reach $1 million in 90 days.
That's a great point from GPT-4, and it also mentioned that we have to take into account the market volatility, as well as external factors like regulatory developments and macroeconomic conditions.
Exactly. Governments and regulatory bodies are increasingly paying attention to cryptocurrencies, and new regulations can have an impact on the market. Additionally, economic events and global crises can affect the value of Bitcoin.
And let's not forget about technological advancements. The adoption of new technologies like scaling solutions and improvements in security can also influence the price of cryptocurrencies.
That's right. So we also have to consider market sentiment. Public opinion and sentiment can have a significant effect on cryptocurrency prices. High-profile endorsements, widespread adoption, or negative publicity can lead to rapid price changes.
Absolutely, and it's essential to consider expert opinions. While they can be valuable, it's important to evaluate their arguments critically and seek multiple perspectives.
Yes, and Balaji Srinivasan's prediction has already been met with skepticism from several high-profile individuals in the crypto community.
That's true, Nike. So, after evaluating all of these factors, would GPT-4 accept the bet if he had the opportunity?
Well, GPT-4 said that it can't give personal recommendations, but it thinks it's crucial to weigh the risks and rewards carefully. The potential gains are enormous, but so are the risks. And it's essential to remember that there are no guarantees in the market. Speaking of volatility, Bitcoin has been delivering a strong performance despite the banking crisis.
Yes, but some analysts are predicting a banking run in the near future. The contagion from Silicon Valley Bank's collapse is spreading, and some are expecting a far greater contagion in the banking space.
It's definitely something to keep an eye on. With the Fed's intervention last week, it's clear that they are doing everything they can to prevent a widespread financial collapse.
It's interesting to see how Bitcoin is performing in the midst of all this chaos. It'll be exciting to see what happens next. Have you heard about the recent developments with Coinbase and Signature Bank?
No, I haven't. What happened?
Well, apparently, Coinbase has stopped support for the institution's Signet payment platform more than a week after New York regulators closed the crypto-friendly Signature Bank. This means that Coinbase users won't be able to use Signet to send funds outside of banking hours until further notice.
That's interesting. Do we know why Coinbase stopped support for Signet?
According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, Coinbase was reportedly looking for another payment network provider and waiting on the outcome of the situation with Signature. The bank was the third domino to fall following the failure of Silvergate Bank and Silicon Valley Bank.
That's a lot of banks failing in such a short amount of time. What do regulators say about this?
Financial regulators claim they stepped in to protect the U.S. economy by strengthening public confidence in our banking system. However, reports have suggested that Signature had no issues with solvency at the time of its closure on March 12.
That's concerning. What will happen to the deposits and loans at Signature Bank?
The U.S. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation announced that the bank's deposits and loans, with the exception of roughly $4 billion in crypto deposits, would be sold to New York Community Bancorp's Flagstar Bank. The government corporation said it planned to provide crypto deposits directly to customers with a digital banking account.
That's good news for the customers. But what about the crypto companies like Coinbase, Celsius, and Paxos who had funds tied to Signature Bank at the time of its closure?
Coinbase said it expected $240 million in corporate assets to be fully recovered. Paxos reported $250 million held at the bank, and Celsius announced some exposure but not the exact amount. It's a tough situation for these companies, and we'll have to see how it plays out. It will be interesting to hear what regulators have to say about the failures of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank during the United States House Financial Services Committee hearing on March 29. Do we know who will be testifying?
Yes. The FDIC Chair Martin Gruenberg and Fed Vice Chair for Supervision Michael Barr are expected to testify. It will be important to pay attention to what they say and how it may impact the crypto industry.
Wow, Nike, this news is quite alarming. According to a recent analysis by economists, almost 190 banks operating in the U.S. are potentially at risk of a run.
Yes, Jane. It seems like the fragility of the traditional financial system is being exposed once again. Rising interest rates, which caused the U.S. banking system's asset market value to decrease by $2 trillion, combined with a large share of uninsured deposits at some U.S. banks, is threatening bank stability.
The report explains that a bank is considered insolvent if the mark-to-market value of its assets is insufficient to repay all insured deposits. This means that even if only half of uninsured depositors decide to withdraw, almost 190 banks are at a potential risk of impairment to insured depositors, with potentially $300 billion of insured deposits at risk.
Exactly. And what's even more concerning is that the recent collapse of Silicon Valley Bank serves as a reminder of the perfect mix of losses, uninsured leverage, and an extensive loan portfolio that could result in the fall of other banks.
That's right, Nike. In fact, the graph in the report shows that the banks in the top right corner, alongside SVB, have the most severe asset losses and the largest percentage of uninsured deposits to mark-to-market assets.
It's quite worrying, Jane. Recent declines in bank asset values have significantly increased the fragility of the U.S. banking system to uninsured depositors' runs.
And with monetary policies penned down by central banks, it's possible that long-term assets such as government bonds and mortgages may suffer losses, further adding to the risks that banks face.
It seems that the traditional financial system is facing significant challenges. This may explain why many people are turning to cryptocurrencies, which are decentralized and not as vulnerable to these kinds of risks.
That's a valid point, Nike. It will be interesting to see how banks and financial institutions respond to these challenges and whether they will be able to ensure the stability of the traditional financial system.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode of our podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussion on the latest news and interesting cases related to cryptocurrencies and blockchain. From the potential collapse of nearly 190 U.S. banks to the $1 million Bitcoin bet between Balaji Srinivasan and Coinbase CEO James Medlock, the world of crypto never ceases to amaze us.
As always, we encourage our listeners to stay informed and educated about the rapidly evolving crypto landscape. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please don't hesitate to reach out to us on social media. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.